Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. So I wonder, is it dead naming to refer to an actor by the name that they went by in the past when they made a particular film, or who they were in the past when they made a particular film? For example, Caitlyn Jenner. Now, I have no problem with referring to her, however she wants, but when I look at a film like You Can't Stop the Music, which I love, it's a classic. I saw it when I was a kid. I watch it every year on New Year's because they screen it every year on New Year's in Australia. And I refer to Bruce because that's who she was then. And that's who I'm looking at. That's the performance I'm watching. And I see people not doing this. I hear people referring to Caitlyn Jenner in the film. Like, Caitlyn Jenner didn't exist at that point and wasn't in that film. Bruce was. And that's the person I'm looking at, the performance I'm looking at, the person I know from that film that doesn't exist anymore, but still exists then in that little time capsule that we call cinema. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm going to continue doing that, but I just am curious if you think that is dead naming, how that is dead naming, because I don't understand. If you're referring to the past, and if you're referring to the person in the present by who they used to be in the past because you won't let that go, or that's different. But I separate the two because I see them as two different people on some level. And the same goes for Elliot Page. When I see anything he was in when he was a she. I recently did a review of the Flatliners film, which she was in, and I didn't realise she was in it. And I'm like, oh, because I had only seen a few films that she did as Ellen Page before they became Elliot. So I have no problem calling him Elliot. I have no problem with seeing him as Elliot now. But when I look at films that he did as Ellen, that's who they were then. I don't understand how people, sort of, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's dead naming. I don't think it's disrespectful, because you can't erase who you were. Because you're now Ellen Page, or now Caitlyn, I nearly forgot her name. You don't erase who you were before, and you can't erase people's experiences and memories and fondness for who you were or a character you played as you then. So I don't see it as a negative thing. I don't think it's insulting. Now, maybe that person wants to forget who they were because it was some sort of offense to them now being who they see themselves as, who they thought they really were, and they didn't feel like they. I get that on some level, but you still were that person, Blanche. You were Ellen Page, so you can't really get away from it because it's been preserved forever in cinema. So I think they need to get over that one. And for, like I said, for some people who use it as an insult and find a way to always, the people who are doing that is obviously doing that. But the people who are reviewing it or just looking at you in that time, who you were then, it's like in your own life that happens. People refer to who you were then or who you were in the past. And you can't pretend like you weren't. You can't just move on and be like, oh, okay, that's who I was in the past, so it's not relevant. Well, yeah, it is, because that's who you were. That's still part of who you are and how you got to be who you are. It just feels like denial, and it just feels very arrogant, like, oh, I can erase who I was before and not have to take any responsibility or accountability for that person. No one else gets to do that. We all have to. I mean, I'm glad social media didn't exist when I was a kid and a teenager, because there's only a couple of things, but a couple of things I did, I'm like, thank God I'm the only person who has those photos. No one else except who was around at the time who may remember, But when you put yourself on the big screen, you don't get to do that. There's something arrogant and elitist about it that kind of bothers me. It's like, well, this is who I am now, and you don't get to refer to me as the person you knew then. Well, sorry, that's my memory. I knew that person or that character for who you were then, and I still have a relationship with that person from that character from that film every time I watch that film. And you can't erase that, and I should be able to acknowledge that and talk about that, because that's my experience. That's that sort of character that I have affection for or love and memory of. And I have no problem with who you are now and what you do in the future, but that doesn't remove what you did before that I love. So I just want to talk about that for a minute, because I'm sort of asking the question, but I've already answered it for myself, and I know I'm right and you can't tell me I'm wrong. But I'm curious how people rationalize that to themselves, aside from the assumption that it's done in a negative way and that it's an insult and that they're defending the person or defending themselves. That's a very cynical way to look at it, although some people do that. I get that. So, but I don't. So, let me have my memories and my connection to those characters. But yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm curious how people reason this for themselves. Yeah.